this meeting in order. Will everyone please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and I'd like to welcome everyone here to our special meeting. It is January 10th, 2022. Roll call, please.
Chairman Dave Udy.
Here.
Eric Carlson.
Here.
Dave Hall.
Here.
Jerry McKenna.
Here.
Tom Metcalf.
Here.
Bill Lamb.
Here.
Lisa Tolgetsky. Here.
Thank you. I'll now entertain a motion to approve the meeting agenda as submitted. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there support?
Support.
Motion's been made in support to approve the meeting agenda as submitted. Is there any further board discussion on this motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. I'll now entertain a motion to approve the December 13th, 2021 special meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there support?
I'll second it.
Motion's been made in support to approve the December 13th, 2021 special meeting minutes. Is there any further board discussion on this motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Thank you. Motion carries. Under old business, I believe under old business, the item that we have is items that Lisa was checking out.
Yep. So, last time we met, we authorized me to apply for an EIN, employer identification number, DUNS number, and so forth. With the help of Roger Sweats from Dickerson Wright, he's helped me file the form for the employer identification number that has been submitted. I've started to work on getting a DUNS number, but you need 2 pieces of documentation, one of them being the EIN confirmation letter, which we don't have that yet. And then the other one I'm going for is our Articles of Incorporation. It says Secretary of the State of Articles of Incorporation. So I've asked Roger about that. He was working from home last week and was going to have his assistant look into it and get back with me. So that's where we are on that.
Okay. Is there any other old business that the board member would like to discuss? Add to?
Nope.
Hearing none, moving on to new business. Pardon me?
No.
Isn't there a meeting with Governor Whitman?
Oh, yeah. There's a meeting, we've scheduled a meeting with a representative from Governor Whitman's office to talk about grant funding for the sewer project. And I just want to let the board members know that meeting is set, and we'll be meeting with one of her representatives to talk about our request that I sent to the governor for $117 million.
Has that date been set yet,
Yes.
Dave?
What else you got, Lisa?
New business?
That's it. Under new business, I'll now entertain a motion to authorize Chairman Udy to sign the fiduciary agreement between the GLUA and the Higgins Lake Foundation for the HELP POL 501c3 as presented.
I'll make that motion.
There's been a motion. Is there support?
Support.
Motion has been made in support to authorize Chairman Udy to sign the fiduciary agreement between the GLUA and the Higgins Lake Foundation for the HELP POL 501c3 as presented. And for discussion on that, we'll let Dave, you want to take that?
I mean, I'll start out. Obviously, this is something that we've talked about for a long time. This is a joint venture to a certain degree with the HLF, who's always been a great proponent for the lake. They've actually had this 501 that's been somewhat dormant that they've allowed us to use. What this really allows us to do, and allows us to use them as a fiduciary, they are the bank. That's their only real goal at this point in time, or real role at this point in time, is to be the bank. But we're able to use their support help, so their office professional, their accountant, things like that, so that's gonna really help us out in that aspect of things or whatever, so we are gonna control the funds. We will make the criteria of who's going to be able to, access these funds, and these funds are mainly for the people out there for the hookup, any costs they get for hooking up to the system, if it's electrical or if it's the plumbing aspects of things to help these people out. So it's a great venture. I think it's great for the community, and I think it's a great help for everyone who will work on it and go forward on this.
To carry that a step further, I'm very excited to announce we have our first donor to this fund. It's a local couple, longtime neighbor in our community, who wanted to be the first to donate to the GLUA Financial Assistance Fund. They wanted their donation to be significant, to demonstrate the major community support for the sewer system, and also to stimulate others to join them in donating to the fund to help our community. Their gracious and generous donation is a staggering $100,000. That's right, $100,000 to financially help our neighbors with the implementation of our new sewer system. They also wanted to be anonymous. And it's not about self-recognition, it's about neighbors helping neighbors with the implementation. And also it's about the health of our community for future generations to enjoy. Although they want to remain anonymous, they've picked a name, an anonymous name, that represents who they are. They'd like to be known as Mr. and Mrs. Friendship. So thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Friendship, for your generous $100,000 donation to our neighbors and our Neighbors Lake community. Thank you. Very exciting.
Absolutely.
It is great news. It is great news. Is there any further board discussion on the motion? Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are those opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. The next GLUA board meeting, take a look at your calendars. I'm suggesting that we meet Monday, February the 7th. a.m. at the Garrish Township Hall.
Did you look at the calendar to see?
I think we're good.
That works for me.
I'm in.
Good?
I'm
Yep.
okay.
Okay,
We'll be here.
okay. Do we have to vote on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Is there, I'd like to entertain a motion that the next GLUA board meeting will be Monday, February the 7th, 9 a.m. at the Garrish Township Hall. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there support?
I'll support that.
The motion's been made and supported to support the next GLUA meeting is Monday, February 7th, 9 a.m. at the Garrish Township Hall. Is there any further board discussion on this motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you, motion carries. Anyone else have anything to add under new business at this time? No? Okay, now we're at a time of public comment. If anybody has a public question or comment, please raise your hand. I'll make sure I recognize everybody. We're going to ask that you keep your comments or questions to 3 minutes in length, and make sure that you state your name clearly so for the record so that we can identify who you are and recognize you. All right, we're all online. Anybody have a public comment or a question that they'd like to? Yeah, go ahead.
I want to thank everybody again for being here, participating in the township version of a democratic republic.
This is Paul Bertrand.
Paul Bertrand.
Thank you, Paul.
I have some old business. At the last meeting, I went on for about 8 minutes, which was allowed, and that was wonderful. This won't take so long. I want to correct some statements, or a statement that I made about GLUA not having any 4-step scientific method proof of their assumptions for the need on a sewer or study outcomes that it would improve any water quality. So for the note takers, I understand you guys take notes and approve them as you see fit. But in particular for the newspaper, I think the newspaper said that I just said they had no proof. The key here is the 4 scientific method steps that will get you to proof. And the other thing that kind of goes along with that, there's a website called MichiganLakeInformation.com by an engineering architectural company called Progressive. This is a 2020 print. They have lots of good information, but I just want to read this and I'll be done. This has to do with variability and trends in lake water quality. Often there is a desire to evaluate trends in water quality. However, this can be a difficult task. It is important to realize that there are a number of factors that influence water quality. Weather, for example, can have a strong influence on water quality conditions. A lake sampled immediately after several days of strong winds and rain may appear much different than if sampled after several days of calm, sunny weather. There can be significant natural variability in lake water quality daily, seasonally, and year to year. Because of this natural variability, it can be very difficult to detect subtle changes or trends that may occur in water quality over time. And this is key. In fact, it may take many years of regular sampling. Regular sampling is 4-step scientific method to detect a statistically significant trend in water quality. So back to my statement, GLUA has no 4-step scientific method proof that there's a need for this sewer. And to me, the biggest part is no outcome studies, no proof that there is an effect that can be gained with a $130 million sewer. And thank you again for letting people come here and speak their mind.
You're welcome. That's why we're here, Paul. Anyone else have a comment to make? Yes, sir.
Excuse me, I'm Tim O'Rourke, 103 Oak Lane, Garish. I have a few questions and I'll email them over to you. I'm sure you have a copy of them. I'm asking what GLUA will do now that there's over 20% of the acreage in Lyon Township with that has met the objection goal of PA 188, and understanding that there's 1,300 objections between the 2 townships, which meets 2,000 signatures as opposed to the sewer system. Are you going to take that into consideration as you move forward? You know currently how many acres are in each of the township which have posted objections? Is there any rule or criteria being used by GLUA currently, or the townships, to judge the validity of the objection petitions that are coming in? Are you, at a previous meeting you said that you were going to start working on, perhaps working on an adjustment to the SAD boundaries. I'm wondering if that work is underway, and if so, who's taking that on? Yeah, it sounded like there was a subcommittee that had been formed or something to talk about that, and I'm assuming that the engineers are working on that as well. That may be a wrong assumption. At a previous meeting also, a question was asked about flow meters being used to judge the amount of effluent that was being pumped through the system as an alternative to just a base amount that was going to be charged to each parcel. And I'm wondering if that's being worked on, and if so, by who? Yeah, where are we at on that? Is it going to be the subject of some future meeting? And then we also talked at a previous meeting about perhaps adjusting the amount that a buildable empty lot was going to be charged. And I'm wondering if that's under consideration still, and if so, who's working on that? And I think that's it. Thank you.
Sure.
I'll send that
If you'll
over.
send me, if you'll.
I'll email it.
Yeah, sure. And I'll email the answers back to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Anyone else? Yes?
Hi, thanks a lot for providing constructive dialogue on the issue.
Your name, sir?
My name's Bob Grayson,
Bob Grayson?
Gracin.
Grace, Gracian. Gotcha, Bob. Welcome.
Just out of curiosity, I was wondering, the local representative, is her name Dare?
Rendon, yes.
Yeah. Is she on the record in support of the project?
She's indicated in letters that she is in support of the project, yes.
In letters?
Yeah.
I just, I kind of want to get to where the rubber meets the road, so I'll try to be quick in 3 minutes. In the initial FAQ sheet, you guys said 68% of 4,300 homes were estimated troublesome. Absence of any significant inspection records, how did you guys extrapolate that number? 68% of the 4,300?
That came from the health department, I believe, yeah.
Okay.
So I think your question should be directed to the health department.
All right. Real quick, there was, at the meeting at the school, we talked about 4,300 homes, and the gentleman here in the class here said that there was a 3-year conversion time frame. You still on board with that? That'd be about 1,500 homes over a 3-year period.
Gary? Gary, did you hear that question?
You're on mute.
You're muted, Gary.
Still on mute.
That's okay. In terms of time, I'll move on real quick. What about infrastructure, right? I mean, when people come to my cottage right now on 4th of July weekend, a couple of tablets, a couple of phones, and the grid goes down, how are we taking into account not only for the electrical pumps at the individual residence, but have we got a commitment from the utility company in terms of the treatment plant and everything? Like, we're not gonna lose power all the time, right?
I believe the treatment plant will have their own generators, should that happen.
Yeah.
All right. About the step tank itself, okay?
Yes.
So I get it, right? We're gonna run a directional line in, we're gonna decant liquids with a volume level pump
Right.
switch or whatever.
Right.
Which is gonna help, because now we're not gonna have to pump out solids, right?
Right.
Now, everybody knows that when we're, witness our, septic tanks being pumped out right now with a gear-driven vane pump, they return a lot of that back into the pump, right? So they can slurry it back out, pump out the solids, okay? My concern is that when we decant the liquid, and now we're 5, 6, 7, 8 years into this storage tank that now has a monolithic chunk of fecal material.
Yeah.
And I wonder what thought has been given into being able to remove that number 2 stuff that's really set up. I don't think that's going to be able to get done with a gear-driven vane pump.
Sure.
It's going to be dealing with a high volume, 3,500 CFM super vac. And frankly, the way that hose goes down into the tank, I was wondering if the board gave any thought into confined space entry to clean these tanks after 10 years to return full capacity to the tanks. And so, then my last question is, the biosolids that end up at the plant, are those landfill? Are those going to be beneficially reused for fertilizer or things like that?
I'm sorry, I was writing a note here.
Right.
Are the solids from
The
the plant gonna
solids.
be
Look at
used for
what's gonna happen to
fertilizer?
the
or
food.
gonna be-
Oh, the solids? Yeah. When we visited Delton Township, which, by the way, they've been on a step system for 30 years, there was never any indication that they had a difficult time going around their 6 lakes that they service, having any issue with pumping if they pumped once every 5 years. There was never any indication of that, of there being
You don't-
difficulty
You
with
don't
that.
take off all the water.
Yeah. But what they did was when they did pump the tanks, they took it back to their waste treatment plant And I don't know what the machine was called that they put it in, but it's just like a big compressor where they put the solids in there and they squeeze the liquid out, and of course the liquid then goes in there. And then it actually becomes a revenue stream because they sell that then to local farmers that come and buy it for fertilizing of their fields.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Hi, Fred Koenig-Bauer.
Hi, Fred.
How are you?
Good.
Good. I haven't been to these meetings in a while, so a couple of my questions might be basic. First of all, as I read material and I look online, I find the terms lots and parcels used interchangeably at times, and I'd just like to get a clarification from you guys as far as how you view lots and parcels. Is in fact a parcel a combined set of lots that I might own? Or
Yes.
is that really the whole difference there? Is that if the difference between lots and parcels is whether they've been combined, and that determines how many I own?
I think we should be talking about parcels instead of lots, because that's what it is. We're going off of by the parcels of property that you have, not by your lot. So yes, you're right when you say if you have 5 lots, it's under one parcel number, so it's considered one parcel. We should be saying parcel instead of a lot.
Okay, but if I own lots, if I own 3 lots and I've never asked them to be combined, now do I have 3 parcels?
If you get 3 tax bills, you have 3 parcels.
Okay.
And then you could get those parcels combined into one parcel. You could also have 3 parcels that have, each one of them have multiple lots. So that's why
Yeah.
we should be saying parcels instead of the word lots. Because, like I said, you could have multiple lots on one parcel.
Okay, thanks. I
Okay.
think I got that. Secondly, when we talk about vacant buildable lots, having an REU of like $14,000, I see in the brochures what I'm going to get for my $22,000, tanks and everything that goes with that. What am I getting for $14,000 on a vacant buildable lot?
Fred, that's all being reevaluated. You
It's
know,
all being reevaluated?
yes, that's all being reevaluated. I think we're going to come to a determination on that in the near future. There's been a lot of discussion about that, you know. You gotta remember that $14,000 in that brochure that we put out, that was like a trial balloon. This is what we knew, and this is what we thought about the best way to move forward, okay? So now, we've gotten a lot of feedback, you know, from guys like you and people that have come into my office and asked me about these questions, and we've had a lot of discussion, you know, amongst the residents and amongst the individual members of the Utility Authority Board, and we're going to reassess that. So, nothing has been determined. There's been no final numbers, there's been no final determination on how vacant properties are going to be assessed or not assessed. It's all, that's why we hold these public meetings. We let you know what we think, what we're thinking about. We get the feedback from the residents, and then we'll make a final determination.
Okay, thanks. And is there any consideration in that regard to what the underlying value of that property is to begin with?
Absolutely, that's why we're doing it.
Okay, that's part of the reevaluation of,
Yes.
because in some cases, the value of the property might be
Well, that's,
far less than $14,000.
well, that's what's driven a lot of our discussion. We know that there are vacant properties that have a saleable value today of maybe $8,000 or $6,000.
Right.
and to assess a property that's worth $8,000, a $14,000 assessment just doesn't cut the mustard.
Thank you for covering that.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
By the way, Fred, it's good to see you.
Yes.
Good to see you. Good to be seen.
Yeah, I bet it is. Anyone else? Yes, there in the back.
Don Cheney. The last meeting I attended was in September. Unfortunately, I had other commitments. But at that time, I asked a question, and I've gone back through all of the minutes of the meetings. Maybe I'm missing something, but I'm not seeing quite a number of the questions that have been asked are even being addressed. My question specifically, and it relates to the buildable lot, has to do with zoning and setbacks. At some point, if the sewers go through, an unbuildable lot based on setbacks becomes a buildable lot. And so my concern is what's going to be done as far as those setbacks and restrictions, health department. Again, they may have their own criteria that may change or may not change, but those are the kind of questions that I'm trying to get answers to. And again, like I said, since September, I haven't seen anything from that. Like I said, also, am I missing something? You know, I think at that time they said something about we'll start posting answers in a Q&A. Again, I haven't seen any of that.
Okay.
And I understand, and I thank you that you're doing fact-finding still.
Sure.
But the output of that fact-finding, I think, should be at least trying to keep up to date.
Don, would you get with me after the meeting
Sure.
so I can, if you have more questions, you know,
Yeah.
we'll get those.
Thank you.
Get those, please, sure. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Donna Babarskis.
Hi, Donna.
Hi. So just two follow-ups. First, as far as you're reevaluating the vacant lots, will you be, or are you considering reevaluating the amount that each home will pay? And what I mean about this is, last time I brought up the question of, would a 600 square foot cottage have to pay the same as a 6,000 square foot home, or that's too exaggerative. How about a 3,600 square foot home? And at that point, it sounded like everybody pays the same. Are you looking at that, or are you no longer going to look at that and consider different rates for different size homes?
Well, you know, in a USDA loan, we're guided by rules from the USDA. Okay? So we have a narrow path that we have to follow that's dictated by the lending agency. Okay? So the answer to your question is, I believe that all parcels are to be treated the same. Now, because of the USDA's rules of loans, you know, we are bound by their rules. We don't have a lot of leeway there.
And then just to piggyback on another question, so there
Sure.
were some questions presented today
Mhm.
that you said email me or whatever. Will we ever be able to see those answers?
Sure,
Will they be
I'll
posted?
email them back to Tim. I'm sure he'll share them with everybody.
But they won't be posted on a public site?
Yeah,
What
put it
is,
out, sure.
last question.
Like the rest of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
The
you.
GLUA has a site, so we'll put them on there.
Can I just say something about the questions? We've been asked a lot of questions, lots, tons, and we've tried to answer every single one, and we've put them on our website. And I didn't bring it with me, but I printed it, and a lot of times we don't want to print off of what we get on our phone because it's 1,400 pages. But I did print it, and it was 22 pages of questions and answers, and they're on our website, on that,
Okay.
yeah. And it's painstaking to go through it because there's hundreds of questions, but they're there. And we'll continue to answer as many questions as possible. It's the questions that help guide us on how we want to massage this to get it right. When this board was formed, we were at zero. We were at maybe the batter's circle, not even at home plate to swing the bat. And as we started going, we now hear from everybody. although sometimes it's a little contagious, it's really great that we have the feedback. And we need it to be able to massage this to be, it works for Higgins Lake. We're trying to do our best on that, and we appreciate people coming here, and this is how we have a say. We have a say by coming here and talking to us and giving us the questions. So we can massage this, work with the engineers, the lawyers, the financial people, and to try to get it right. Thanks.
I did look at the site, and so I guess my question would be, like, the questions that were asked today, would they be under the minutes for today's meeting, or do I have to look through the, you know, I mean, I'm just
No.
wondering how it's laid out so
Yeah, I
that we
don't know.
can get to our questions.
We'll figure that out. We'll get there. Probably be on the website.
They're not gonna be part of the minutes, no.
They won't be part of the minutes.
But if you email the questions to Supervisor Udi, or Chairman Udi, sorry.
Whichever.
If you email those to him, they can put them out on their website.
Kim, did you have another question?
Well, just a maybe a follow-up question.
Sure.
Maybe off track a little bit. Has the board considered going or incorporating a Zoom characteristic to these meetings so that people that can't make the 9 o'clock meetings can participate and listen to these? And then I'm thinking with the resurgence of a new COVID strain, maybe some people aren't crazy about sitting in an organized meeting like this. And perhaps maybe it's time that you decide to go to a Zoom meeting, or at least
I'm worried
the
that
opportunity.
I'm worried that they're gonna shut us down again.
Yeah. Good point, Tim.
Anyone else? Yes, in the back there, man.
Jan Krieger, Lion Township.
Hi, Jan.
The meeting with Whitmer's liaison, will the public be invited to that?
No. No, it's a meeting where we're going to follow up with the governor's office on our request for a $117 million grant.
Just to clarify, that would not be the whole entire board.
No, it's not the whole board. It's just a couple of representatives. Because if we were to have the whole board, then it would have to be an open meeting. Yes,
Do
Paul?
you have a date for that meeting?
Yes,
Would you like to share it, or?
sure. It's this afternoon. Anyone else? Yes?
David, do we have any grant money approved yet, or do you guys have any grant money approved yet?
None of the billions of dollars that are coming into the state have been approved anywhere yet.
How
In
many
fact,
letters have gone out?
Pardon me?
Requests. How many requests have gone out
from me?
from?
Oh, yeah,
grant money?
yeah, we've sent a request out to both of our state senators, our U.S. representatives, our governor, our state senator, our state representative, the chairman of the finance committee in the state senate. We sent letters letting them know that we'll be coming after them for this project and for $117 million. Yeah.
I'd like to comment on that. We had I was privy to be on a Zoom call with some professionals, grant people in Lansing. This was like late last week. They informed us that the state of Michigan was just given $16 billion to use before the year's out. It's actually $15.89 billion, in which $10 billion of it is for water and wastewater infrastructure. And our name is front and center on this, and it's very, very encouraging. Do we have a yes? No, we don't. Do we have any money? Did they say here it is? No, we don't. But the way Lansing is working right now, it appears that since this is an election year, they want everything buttoned up by June. So between now and June, we may know something. And we look forward to knowing something. And when we do, we'll be the first to throw that flag because, you know, that's the $64,000 question. How much is it? What's it going to cost us?
We've been guided through this process by lobbyists and attorneys that deal with the state legislature. And the $130 million was the estimated cost of the program. We were advised, don't even bother asking for $130 million because they won't do that, but ask for 90% of that. That's where that number came from, okay? The reason we asked for the 90% is we were told that ask for 90% and you're likely not to get 90%, maybe you'll get 80 or 85% of it. So that's the, I've never dealt with grants in Lansing, but we know people and we are in contact with people that are and do this all the time. And that's who's helping us guide us through this quagmire. Yes.
Part of the issue too is that the state of Michigan as yet does not know how those federal funds will actually come to them, but they will probably be in the way of other grants and programs. And this is meeting with the chief of staff of the Senate Appropriations Chair. So they're waiting to see how those funds will actually transfer to the state, but they expect them to come from the federal. They just don't know by which means that's going to occur yet.
Was it Jim
Stamas?
Stamas?
Mhm.
Yeah. He's the key in the Senate. So
That was $3.4 billion they have earmarked.
Yeah.
Part of that, the only specific earmarks for that is the city of Flint and the Detroit flooding situation. The rest are to be applied for and distributed.
Okay. Are we good? Yes.
Jack Taylor.
Hi, Jack.
I'm just wondering, with all the state parks, are they going to be assessed for their portion of the acreage? How does that work?
Yeah, the South State Park is already hooked into a sewer. They're hooked into the Houghton Lake Utility Authority. All right. If you go travel down Flint Road, you might see a sign between Flint Road between Houghton Lake and Hayes Lake. You might see a sign that talks about that. We are in conversation with the North State Park and the Ram Center and Camp Westminster, all DNR-owned properties at the north end of the lake. We've had initial meetings with the representatives in this area, advised them as what our sewer program was, told them what we estimate their REUs would be to handle the camp, the three entities up there. And like any good DNR office, they said they had to run it up the flagpole up to Lansing. So we will be having more further conversations with them later this month. But we have approached them. They are interested. All right, but when you're dealing with the bureaucracy, it's like hurry up and wait. But we will be talking with. We have further conversations with them. They haven't been scheduled yet, but I'll be calling them and let's set something up and talk again. So yeah, we are talking. Yes, in the back.
Mike Powers, 2618 Southcrest. I live a mile and a half off the lake. You want to show me proof that I'm a polluter, like you are like the people that live, the major polluters up on the lake?
Yeah. Well, Mike, you're Mike Powers?
Yes.
Okay, and what's your address?
2618 Southcrest, mile and a half off the lake.
Okay. I mean, I don't have anything to tell you other than what the USGS has shown us, where within the Higgins Lake watershed, the flow of water is coming down into the lake.
And what is that, a 20, 30-year-old study?
Well, it could be 20 or 30 years old, or it could be something from 2 years ago. But the point is that if you're within the watershed, the gravity pulls the water down and it goes into the lake. I mean, do I have anything beyond what USGS and their scientists say? No, I don't. But that's what we rely on.
Well, once again, me and all my neighbors need to see proof that we're polluters. We're not frontline polluters like everybody else that's close to the lake.
Yeah.
Mile and a half,
Yeah.
you're telling me.
Well, all I can tell you, Mike, is that this is what the USGS tells us. And does it run down there? Is it going to be in the lake tomorrow? I don't know. I don't know how fast it may travel. I don't have any idea. But all I know is that is that the experts that we have relied on and talked to for over 4 years now have told us that if you're within the watershed, it's likely, very likely, that gravity will pull your effluent down, hits the water table, and ends up in the lake.
So why don't we go around the lake a mile and a half and bring everybody into this watershed?
Well, a lot of it had to do with the density of neighborhoods. You get a mile and a half away from the lake in some areas, and the properties are 20, 30, 40 acres.
Sounds like a money issue to me. More money for your pockets.
No, it's not my pockets. You know, I don't know why you would make that comment. There's nothing in my
I have
pocket.
no idea why you're reaching out a mile and a half to grab money from us that we're not polluters.
Okay, well, thank you for your comment. I appreciate your comment. Anyone? Sure, we'll have a second go around.
I know, my new friend Dave. Speaking to that, you might want to check out the Higgins Lake Land Conservancy website. It has some information about other, what you could say are alternative facts as to what pollution and the distance from a lake actually can be determined, and they have a good case to be made. If you're more than 300 feet, it's not a problem at all. So there are differing opinions.
Sure. Anyone else? Okay, we're good.
One more. Wait, Dave.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, that's all right. I was debating whether to say anything or not.
Your name, sir?
Bob Blamer.
Hi, Bob.
317 Kennedy. I just want to thank you guys for the studies that you've done and the work you've done. I know you're catching a lot of flack. I've got 25 years experience with the lake, the water testing, the bottom as a diver who's down several thousand or hundreds of times. And I was on the original dive teams which were affecting or addressing milfoil. And I've seen it progress, and it's not always a water content, it's what's on the bottom. It's the nutrients on the bottom. Talk to the scientists, I've read their studies. I know that there's a lot of controversy. I just appreciate all the flack that you guys have taken and all the effort that you're doing to address the concerns that we have, so thank you.
Thank you. I can make, I'll save it for my comment. Are we done now?
One more quick one, Dave.
Go ahead.
I've heard that you're thinking of redrawing the lines for the district. Are you considering taking some properties out of the district and then adding other areas? And if so, how can that be done? I mean, the study indicates that they're in the watershed, you're gonna automatically take them out? Now, I don't know you're doing that, I'm just asking.
The answer to your question is yes.
How can that be done? I mean, if they're in the watershed, they're in the watershed.
There were certain criterias. There were like 4 criterias: elevation from the lake, distance from the lake, density of the neighborhood, types of soils. That was our initial criteria. That's what we began our study with. Since that, and because of these meetings and because of people coming in and like the gentleman in the back saying, look, I'm a mile and a half from the lake, da-da-da-da-da, you know, then we begin to challenge those assumptions again and talk with our engineers, and we talk with the scientists, and we're still talking about that. So yes, there is a possibility that some areas may be removed from the, remember, that original map you saw, that was just at the first blush. That was our first go-round. You know, we had to have a basis to start. We had to have a place to start.
Okay.
And that's where we started.
Do you have new studies to show that these loams are no longer, you know, putting nutrients and phosphorus in the lake? Then you're just gonna take them out?
No, I think it becomes more of an economics situation. We discussed it earlier today. Fred brought it up. How can you charge some money to a lot that's only worth $8,000? So economically speaking is another factor. We can talk about density and ground soil, et cetera, but you know, what's fair and what's right? And that's what this board's trying to determine. And we can talk about the watershed. We saw Mark Tonello from the Fisheries Department of the DNR who said that if I lived in Higgins Lake, anywhere in the watershed, I'd be fighting like hell for this sewer system. So can we go to the whole watershed? It seems a bit, and we have a gentleman back there who started to say, hey, I'm a mile and a half away from the lake. I don't pollute. But yet you were trying to say, look, if you're in the watershed, you're in the watershed. So what is it? Should we say you're in a watershed, we should collect it? Or should we say, let's make out what makes sense?
That's not what I was saying.
Okay.
You determined that certain properties were in the watershed, and you're talking about redoing their lines, so you're saying economically, they're no longer in the watershed.
No.
Well, economically,
No.
no, but if they're in the watershed, they're in the watershed.
No, they're in the watershed.
That's what I was asking.
Are we good? Well, I want everybody to understand that my friend Paul here, you know, the gentleman mentioned a minute ago, I'm sorry for all the grief. I don't look at it as grief, you know, I think gentlemen like Paul has legitimate questions and legitimate concerns, and we appreciate him coming, and go ahead. Number 3.
Yes, number 3. and
I'll tell you what, Paul, it's a good thing you're a friend of mine, because you're pushing the rules here.
Well, yeah, we're headed towards best friends here. What he said brings up a question. You're talking about redrawing the lines to possibly, as he's asking about omitting some sections. Are you also considering adding sections that were not in the original line for the SAD?
It could go both ways.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
When you talk about the density of the neighborhoods, like my neighborhood,
Yes,
there's a lot of houses,
yes,
but 90% of them are weekenders.
we understand that.
Okay.
And every time, and when they're here, every time they flush their toilet, or every time they use dishwashing detergent, or every time they launder their clothes, that effluent is going down in their tank, out into their drain field, and down into the water table and into the lake. And now, they do it less frequently.
My point was that they're not here all the time.
I understand
So,
that.
You know, I mean, a neighborhood could have 1,000 houses in it, and only 3 of them are used year-round.
Yeah.
Will that be taken into consideration?
Yes,
Okay.
I live in one of those neighborhoods.
Okay.
I think myself and 2 other people are the only ones that are here. The rest are smart, and they get out of here and go south. Okay, are we good? Okay, board comments, Lisa?
Tina.
Yeah,
All set.
all set?
All set.
All set.
I have something.
Go ahead.
This process that has been a little bit difficult, but it's been rewarding in the sense of hearing the feedback and hearing how this should be massaged to work the right way. The exciting part is, as we listened about vacant lots and we listened about the actual area of collection and look at adjusting, the fact that the grant money seems to be bigger than ever in my entire lifetime. The $3 billion that Jerry referred to is another one, along with the $10 billion that we heard of just last week. Mr. and Mrs. Friendship stepping up with $100,000. Whitmer's office, who's sending an aide to say, go see if there are real live people there, so we can work with them. This is exciting to have this happen, and it's all coming together pretty nice. I would ask those that are not in favor of the sewer to reconsider and to get on the bus and to join us as a community to try to do what's right, to put the infrastructure in that we need. We're not a third world country. We used to live with septics, and that was great. But over time, and some of our recent studies, the last 10 years, have indicated that septics were working. We were getting the effluent away from the water, but now the ground is saturated over time, and we have a problem, not only for our lake, but for our drinking wells. So I'd just like to ask from the board that those that are not for the sewer to reconsider and to help our community do what we think is the right thing. Thank you.
Bill?
I just want to, again, talk about a little bit about what the HLF has done for us, the support they've given for us, and also the support for the lake. It's been relentless and great. Again, we'd like to say thanks to Mr. Friendship, who started this whole thing with $100,000. I think this is just the start of it. We're out there trying to help. We are one of the only ones that have put this thing together to that we can help out the residents or whatever for the hookup fees or whatever. I think it's in the right direction, and I think we're moving forward.
Yes, sir.
When we started this thing, the first thing I said to the people, Dave and some of the other people that first brought this up was, I don't want to see one little old lady lose her house over this. Can't happen. And other people said, well, you know, we got to do it anyhow. But the things that these guys are talking about, I had a lady live next door to me. She passed away. She had no chance in heck of affording this. She didn't have anything. I would have helped her, next door neighbor. I did help her with stuff. But to see that one of the main concerns was, you know, we've got hookup costs. Those, you know, it's on the list is what is the individual homeowner responsible for? Well, if the little old lady doesn't have any money, she can't afford that, whatever it is. But we've got an effort, a strong effort to alleviate that. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, if this wouldn't be an ongoing thing if we have a little old lady 3 years from now, 5 years from now, who can't pay it. And if you can't pay a special assessment, at some point they'll take your house away. Down the road. It takes a while, but it happens. I would assume this fund would be ongoing. And when those people are identified, when it's analyzed and they qualify, 65, permanent resident, no income, that there'll be help for that as well.
Yes.
I mean, that's the point, that it's not a screw you thing. It's not a we're shoving it down your throat thing. It's how can we help the people that need help? And there's an awful lot of people around this lake who don't need any help at all, but should be willing to help, and it appears as though that's happening. Thank you.
Dave, could I add one thing to what Dave Paul was saying earlier? In the meeting with Senator Thomas's chief of staff, I also met with the past treasurer for the city of Grand Rapids, who early on he was very involved in a sewer project that extended the Grand Rapids municipal system out to Gerald Ford Airport. And he had to go through several different communities to do this. But both of their comments was, our timing could not be better. We are way ahead of the curve. We'll never see funding like this probably again for a long time, and it hasn't existed for the past 20 years.
Okay. My only comment is I want to thank all the residents for coming out today. The more that we have interaction between the board and our residents, the better off it is. That's the way things get done in a productive and a professional manner. So I'd like to thank everybody for coming. I'll now entertain a motion that we adjourn at 9:55 a.m.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, is there support? Support. There's been a motion to adjourn at 9:55 and it's received support. Is there any further board discussion on this motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Thank you. We stand adjourned.